today we have the designer of the F-One Frigate, Nicolas Caillou.
For me, all the sports are very complementary. The wind, the wave, the water, that will lead which sport I will do.
What is harder in designing the Parawing? Is it the actual shape of the canopy, or is it the bridling that is so intricate?
For me, you have two different way of designing. This looks to have the best DNA of each sport. The right DNA of the kitesurf, the right DNA of the wing.
What were you guys trying to optimize on the frigate?
The three key points for me for the design of the frigate was
a bigger leading edge. What's that giving you in terms of performance?
when you have a small leading edge, it's very compact. But on the other side,
What about the stash belt? Better materials for the Parawings? What's the next wave of adoption now? Who is the rider who is impressing you the most?
poof.
Welcome to the Lab Rat Foiler podcast. My name is Dan, and today we have the designer of the F-One Frigate, Nicolas Caillou. Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you. And I'm very honored to be part of the show. Thank you very much for that.
So am I, man. We have so many good reviews on the frigate. Everybody is loving the product that you design, which must be a really good feeling as a designer to get that feedback. So we're going to get into, your design process, everything that you went through while designing the frigate. But before we get into that, I really love to touch on your past experience and how you got to this position of being the lead designer in such an important project like the Parawing for such a big brand like F1. So if you could just take us through a little bit of your history in sports and how did you get to F1?
Yeah, it's a quite long story with F1. For me, it's quite interesting because I was born in Bordeaux and close to Atlantic coast. And when I was young, I surf, I bodyboard a lot, and I tried to windsurf first. I tried to remember it was around 87, something like that, very long time ago. Then after that, I switched from Bordeaux to the Mediterranean Sea when it's super windy. Then I was windsurfed a lot when I was young, not competing a lot. I didn't take in account competition in my head, and it's not important. And what was very interesting is I started to kite surf I tried to remember to figure out, it was in 1996. Then it was a long time ago.
Wow, very early.
Yeah. I was one of the first. Raphael was tried a kite surf previously before me, because I know Raphael from the his windsurf career. We had some competition when I was young together. Then we met for the first time for windsurf, which is quite interesting. And after that, I tried the kite surf, and I felt in love immediately with the kite surf, even if my first experience was, you have to remember, 1906 we had two-line kites. We didn't know how it worked. No. I spent 1 year to go upwind. But my first experience, I tried a kite. I remember it was a Conceptor or something like that. I just take it on the beach, crash on the beach. I had a very wide beach and slide for almost a 200 meter longer way and crash on the water. But I felt in love because of the power. I felt in love with this impressive power. It was, even if it was super light wind. Then I stopped windsurf, immediately go to kitesurf, which was one of the best experience in my life. And what was good is I was studying at a university, and one of the most famous brands at this period was Wipika, and they were established in Montpellier, where I lived. And because I was one of the first to try the kitesurf, they need some testing riders, and step by step, I first was a test rider for them, for the brand that was the number one at this period. It was amazing. It was a huge brand. Unfortunately, it doesn't exist anymore, but at the real beginning, it was quite interesting. And I was testing rider. After that, step by step, I managed all the tests of all the riders in the world to collect all the information, to give clear information for the designers. And it was during my study. I studied a PhD. Then it was definitely not a PhD dedicated for kitesurf, but it was a lot of mathematic models I used. It was
Mhm.
to understand the behavior of your body when you learn a new task, and totally different. Pupil
Wow.
scientist.
Very different.
Yeah. But finally, all the mathematic models, I can apply it on the kites to find what is the best tuning for the designer between the
Mhm.
feedback we had from the rider and how they can apply it on the computer. And step by step,
Amazing.
I was teach to design kites with the former of the kite at Wipika, and step by step, it was like that. And what is interesting with F1 is the first kite I bought, it was an F1. It was an 80K
Oh,
that
there you go.
was introduced in 99. And when we discussed last winter with Raphael about that, I say, remember, my first kite I bought was a F1, even if during the last 30 years, we never worked together. We've been
Wow.
finally competitor. Then
Yep.
after being a designer, I was a brand manager for one kite company, and I quit because at this step I was not. I was convinced that a lot of things we learn in kite we can apply in all different world. It could be in surf. It
Mhm.
could be. I was working for Big Sport at this period. Big Sport is not living
Big, yep.
anymore. And we had a windsurf, we had a kite, we had surf, and all the time I feel that I'm a surfer, I'm a windsurfer, I'm a kite surfer, I'm a wingfoiler, Parawinger. I love all the water sports
Mhm.
and all the knowledge I learned. Finally, I think that I could apply on different sports, and the philosophy of the company was not like that. Then I left and start my own company. And after
Mhm.
that, I started my own company in 2008, and I was kitesurfing only at this period. And I have one friend of mine, two friends, Chris Middleton and Laurent Ness, who owned the first kite school in France.
Mhm.
He started his kite school in 1904. It's it's a dinosaur
Wow.
story, huh? A real dinosaur
But
story.
it's
But
so early. It's so cool. Yeah.
and he called me, Nico, you need to try the hydrofoil. And remember, I don't know if you remember the Carafino. He said to me,
Not from my time.
you need to try. And like the kite, I spent 1 year to go upwind, a lot of walk of shame. But like the kites,
Yeah.
the first experience was quite hard, but I felt the potential.
Mhm.
Then I started to hydrofoil
Mhm.
in 2009. And
Wow.
after 2 days, I tried to trim the hydrofoil, trim the back wing, trim everything. Then I was very focused on hydrofoil for the last 20 years, even if I still kite surf, use a 20, because for me, all the sports are very complementary. When I go on the beach
For
now,
sure.
this is the wind, the wave, the water. How is the water that will lead which sport I will do? Finally, it's totally different.
Yep.
This is what I call now. We are kind of watermen now on the water with all the
Yep.
tools we have, and we need just to find the right tool for the day. And this is
Mhm.
very interesting to do. Then I design kites, design hydrofoil, design boards, 20 boards, surfboards for my own company. And after that, I
What
go
was
back
the
to
name of your company?
Zico,
What
Zeeko. It's a very small company, French company.
Zico.
But
Yep.
what was interesting with Zico, I did exactly what I want to motivate myself. And finally, with this company, I was
Mm.
working also to create an energy using a kite. I was working on the pick and place robot because we apply the same technology to make a 20 board with carbon piece on the robot, which is totally different.
Mhm.
But this is what I like to do. It's when we have a knowledge, for sure we can apply on different world, and I love that. And
Love it.
finally, and what is interesting with the Parawing is I try to design some foil kites, and finally I never succeed to do
Mhm.
it. I failed all the time. And with the Parawing, the knowledge I learned after years was well applied on the Parawing. And it's sometimes
Amazing.
work, sometimes no. And after that, Raphael, no, it's not Raphael, it's his son, Julian, who called me
Julian.
last January, because we live together in the same, close to the same time. I live at 20 kilometers from them. But when we are on the beach, it's like in Hawaii, finally, we are all together. I know Raphael, that I'm testing all the time at things on the water,
Mm.
and I see him also on the beach testing things. What is fun is when we go on the beach, we say hello, we look in the eyes, and when we cross like that together, we turn the head and to check what are you trying. And for the last 25 years, it was like that, and it's quite fun to know. And Julian called me because they want to be a part of the Parawing sports, but they didn't have the resource because all the designer
Hmm.
was fully involved in all the project, and they didn't have the resource enough to go on that. And this is why they call me, and we discuss. We discuss for 1 month about what they want to do. I previously worked
Hmm.
also for a different company and already start to test Parawing, Pocket Wing since last September, 1 year ago, for another brand.
Hmm.
And I know that Raphael, I know they call me because they see me on the beach testing, making notes on bridle, on the water. I was testing, tuning, and it
Hmm.
was not working at the beginning, to be honest. The first one, I spent 6 months not to be sure that Parawing will be a real sport, because it was complicated at the beginning to trimming, to have something that works, especially when you are from the kite surf, which in, and especially kite foil. I was super involved in the kite foil. It's super fast
Hmm.
on the water. It's super efficient in light wind, for jump, for everything. And when you want to introduce a new sport, if the level is very low in terms of performance, for me, it has no sense. Then we need to work hard
Yeah.
to make it, to have the first brick of the big house of the Parawing for me.
I love that idea of building when you are coming up with something that is, new and the reference points are very little. You have a couple of brands with, a couple of ideas and some products out there. Where do you start? Where do you, okay, this is the first design, and what is harder in designing the Parawing? Is it the shape, like the actual shape of the canopy, making a high aspect, low aspect, whatever, or is it the bridling that is so intricate?
Mm. It's a complete setup that is important. First, you need to have the what I could call the canopy. You need to have a canopy shape that is performant. But if the
Hmm.
bridle is not well set up, you can have the best shape. If the bridle is not correctly set up, it will not work. Then finally, it's
Yep.
always a balance between the 3D shape you give with the fabric and the trimming of the bridle. For example, for me, you have two different way of designing. You have some people that will make a lot of prototype, something 20, 25, and test it only a few hours and make a new prototype, testing a few hours. Um,
Hmm.
from since the beginning, I never work like that. Even for kite design, I prefer to spend a lot of time, even 1 month, sometimes it's 1 month, 2 months, with one kite, try to tune the bridle, because finally everything is have to be taken in account. And if the DNA of the shape is not good, you feel that you can't optimize it, you need to make another prototype.
Yeah.
But with the bridle, you can do a
Hmm.
lot of things. It's quite impressive what you can do. For example, what I said for the frigate, we didn't make a lot of prototype. I mean, in a 3D shape, but
Hmm.
I test maybe 100 different bridle system on it. Then
Yeah.
something you just have to feel what is the limit in terms of all the time. I feel like that. For me, it's a complete tool. You have the Parawing, you have the bar, you have the harness, you have the board, you have the foil, and all the time you need to understand what is the limitation of your ride. And at the very
Mm.
very beginning step, hydrofoil are well designed now. We know that it's very performant. Board is the same, and Parawing, because it was I talk about 6 months 1 year ago, the real limitation was the Parawing, clearly. Then we need to be focused on this part first. And first, you need to understand what is not the worst 3D shape. And after that, you make a prototype. You feel when you think about how to design, I spend a lot of time checking videos when the BRM was on the markets. For me, in my head, it was clear that it's a real sport. It's very close to. It could have all the best feature of all the water sports we have on the market. And then it could be a part of the right DNA of the kite surf, the right DNA of the wing, the right DNA also of the windsurf, because finally the behavior of the bar is very similar to windsurf sail. Then when the first time I look at that, what was interesting is when I tried for the first time the wing, I was not so same enthusiastic as it was for the first time I tried kitesurf, for the first time I tried the Parawing, but I was wrong, definitely, because it's a real sport. But because I was with the DNA of a kite foiler, the first time I tried something that was very slow. We had a foil that was a 2,000 centimeters square. When I was used with kite foil to ride a 500, then for me, the sport was a kind of turtle sport compared to kite foil.
Big board. Yeah.
Yeah. Then
I understand.
I
was
didn't
kind of
feel at
very
the
similar
first
to
step.
that.
I was wrong. Then after that, I step by step, I established that it was a real sport. But with the Parawing, it was exactly the same as kitesurf. This looks to have the best DNA of each sport. Sometimes you feel that you have the best DNA of each sport, but when you mix it, it doesn't work. Then on that sports, it looks, short bridles, which is something that is a limit of the kite surf. Something no pumps. It's quite interesting to have no pumps. Now, what I say that I lose time now to put my wetsuit and to assemble the foil to go on the water compared to kites or compared to wing. It's we feel that it was we spend too much time to prepare the wings or the kites. Now this is the quickest things you can you need to assemble to go on the water, which is totally the opposite of the other sport. And all these things looks that the sport is very promising, for sure.
Yeah, look, it's I resonate with a lot of the things that you mentioned there. You know, when going into that transition from kiting to winging, the reason I got into winging was because it allowed me to surf. It was a better surfing tool than the kite, so I went for it, and ultimately, then it became the way to surf. And then sup downwinding came along, and I was like, wow, that's a better way to surf without the wing. But then the Parawing came out, and it allows you to do something that is reserved for very few people in this sport, with a very small board and a very small foil. If you're not Ridge Lenny in Hawaii, doing a rock start and, pumping out to sea on a prone board, there's no other way for you to get access to that.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why it made me fall in love with it. But I'm curious to know, so when you started doing these prototypes, who were the riders that were involved in that testing phase? Is it mainly you, or do you have a couple of key riders in the team that you bring along?
Yeah, it was for the small history. When Raphael and Julian called me, they said, we know we are not the first. Then we prefer to take time. To take, if we need to spend 1 year to introduce something on the market, we will spend more 1 year. Then I had no pressure on that at the first step, which is very important to understand. We had no limit in terms of time, no limit in terms of investment, because they felt that the sport start to grow, but because they were not the first, and they know how to be the first, because they were one of the first kiteboarding brands, one of the first of the SUP sports. Then they know that and they know that they were not the first. But finally, what was interesting is we discussed. I checked all the things I saw on internet in January, February. And I had a first prototype. The target was to finally the first target was to have the what's in F1 we call the sample zero, the first step to start the R&D. We need a first step, and after that
Okay.
we start the R&D. And
Mhm.
finally, the first prototype was very promising. It was
Mhm.
very surprising even for me. I felt that if I put this parameter on the design, this parameter, and for one of the, what I say to Raphael now is, and Julian, be careful, it's never so fast as we did with the frigate. I did it only in my career, 2 or 3 times in my career to develop a product so quickly, because everything was well balanced. All the parameters to design a
Mhm.
Parawing was well balanced at the first step. And how we did it, finally, it was not the pro rider that was involved at the very first step, because we need to be. I say that we don't need to be fast, but finally, when we had the first prototype, we felt that we are on a very good way. That now we need to push a lot. And to
Mhm.
be so fast, we have Kaileni that is riding, that he was already riding the Plume and riding Parawing, but he's based in Hawaii. Then we just make all the tests with Julian, the son
Mhm.
of Raphael, that is very involved in a downwind hydrofoil. Vincent with one engineer, and me. And the way we work, first I try the prototype. When I feel it's well trimmed, I give to them, because me, I'm more focused on the speed ability, the upwind ability, the turning ability. And Vincent and Julian, and especially F1, was more involved in the downwind aspect of the sport. Then finally, we've
Yep.
been super complementary. It was a complementary team on that. And we talk about the tester, but we need also to talk about the designer. But because what I like to say, I didn't design it alone. What is good with F1? F1 have we are a total of 4 designers for kites, wings, Parawing, Plume. We have Charles
Mhm.
Brodel, which is designing a kite dedicated for hydrofoil. Ralph Grosel, which is dedicated also for the kites. And we have Robert Graham, which is dedicated to design some kites and some wings. But what is good with Robert was a paragliding designer for the last 30 years. Then he have tons of
Yeah.
experience I didn't have. Me, my only experience is to design kite, hydrofoil,
Mhm.
windsurf, not windsurf sail, but windsurf, hydrofoil, and boards a little bit. And every time I had something that wasn't unclear, I call Robert. I know Robert for many years also, because we met on the beach, and we discuss all the time. As designer, when you have 2 designers, they meet together, they have tons of things to discuss and to
Oh,
share.
the best.
Then, because we've been in the same team, I call Robert. Yeah, what do you think about using this parameter on the design of the Parawing?
Mm.
Yeah, it could be good, and we have a lot of discussion like that. Then finally, what is good is it was a complete team of riders that have different focus. Me was upwind, was going fast on the water, was to have a lot of deep power. Julian and Vincent
Mhm.
was deeply involved in the downwind, and it was the catching, the stashing was very important for them. And after that, we mixed the feedback, and we've been step by step to improve the product on that. And
That's awesome to I love to hear those moments in time where you're building the product and you need it to pack well, you need it to go upwind well, and you need it to be stable,
mm,
you need it to be user friendly and easy to understand as a product. So what were you guys trying to optimize on the frigate? Is it, I know you touched on a few things that it needed to have, but
mm.
if you were to choose the one characteristic that's like we can't launch if it's not, stable or
Yeah.
whatever, because I feel like it's all a compromise, right? You
Yeah.
can't have everything when you're designing a Parawing.
Exactly. I can say that there is two things that was very important in my head. The first was to have a clean shape. And when I look at, because I analyze a lot the paraglider, single skin paraglider, single skin kites, because there is already a lot of product that is very close to the Parawing on the market. I felt that the front part of the shape most of the time was not super clean. Then the target for me, if we have the first 40% of the leaning edge that is clean, a lot of things will be simplified. Will be you will have a lot of performance. And I was very focused on that part. And on the other side, what was very important with F1 was the fact that they had the plume. The first time we had a meeting with Raphael and Julian, I didn't see the plume in real, never, because when they go on the beach for the Plume project, they go on the secret beach and never show the product because it was totally different, and they don't want to have a competitor that know exactly how to do it. And for this history, the first time I saw a plume, immediately I take one of my kites and try to trim it like a plume to know exactly what could be the feeling. And I say, yeah, they are maybe on the right way. And why it's the right way with the plume is the product, the water sport product that is in the air that pull you using the air is the one with the widest wind range. And where we live in Montpellier, we have a very gusty wind. Sometimes the wind is starting at 15 knots, go to 30 and go back to 15, go up to 30. It's super gusty where we live. And the wind range, it's the minimal, it was something that was priority for all the other things. And the second one was the upwind. Because for me, a sport,
Nice.
I know a lot the walk of shame with the kites. I know the walk of shame with the first prototype of the Parawing. We never want to go for the walk of shame. And my DNA was not from the downwind scene. I know that Julian and Vincent, even Raphael, for them, the objective at the beginning was not to go upwind, because downwind is you start from one point and you go to another one, and you take a car, board, whatever you bicycle, whatever you take, but you don't start and finish at the same point. Then in the philosophy of the Parawing, and look at the real beginning, the first Parawing was on the market. The upwind was not something that was important, but for me, because I was so involved in kites, in wings, in all sport, I can start from one point and go back on the same point. For me, if we want to have the sport that is very well exposed and very efficient for all the riders, we need to have a good upwind ability. And even for the downwinder, what is interesting to understand, if you have a very good upwind ability, you will spend less time to go upwind and more time to go downwind. Then it's also for the downwinder. And from the beginning, this was important. The wind range, the upwind ability was very important. And also, I focused a lot on the tack. It looks not very important, but we know how to jibe. But if we want to go upwind, as my DNA was a DNA of a kite foiler, I want to have something that is very stable during the tack. And what is interesting with the tack is if you can do a very easy tack, you know that you resolve a lot of things. Because it can be, it looks that it can be stable when you depower. You have a good turning ability. Then I focus all the time on the tack. Even it was in February, I was tacking all the time to know what's happened with the Parawing I had. Then the three things, the key point for me for the design of the frigate was upwind, wind range, and tack. It was the three things I want to have something that is satisfying for my own ride. And after that, I take in account the information, the feedback of Julian, of Vincent, that was very focusing on the stashing. But the stashing for me doesn't look to be the most difficult property to manage on the Parawing. For me, it was wind range to have the stability, because wind range is finally the stability. No collapse of the tip,
Mm-hmm.
no full collapse of the Parawing. The first I tried, I remember the wind range was only 3-4 knots of wind range.
Was
It's not
limited, yeah.
satisfying. You can't ride with only 3. Every time I had a gust, where we live is super gusty, I crash. I crash all the time. I had a gust, I can't control it. Then for me, it was very important to manage wider wind range.
I have a question because there's a Parawing in the market that has a very small leading edge profile, and when you have a small leading edge profile like that, it really makes stowing and putting the Parawing away very easy because it's a smaller part, let's put it that way. What does a bigger leading edge and a thicker leading edge give you for the Parawing, and why, companies like you, there's other companies that have a much bigger, like twice the size, of that leading edge. What's that giving you in terms of performance?
Yeah. And just for information, you have a lot of echo now. I don't know what's happened. But
I have nothing.
yeah,
I can still hear you fine.
What is very interesting in terms of design, because we are the very first step, all the designer take in account what they feel this is the right things to take in account. And for example, when you look at some Parawing, as you said, they have a very thin profile. It's like an hydrofoil. Finally, it works exactly the same like a kite, like when you have a small leading edge, a thin leading edge. Finally, what is quite interesting is for the packing, as you said, it's very compact, because you don't have a wide rod, you don't have a lot of volume for the ribs, then it makes the stashing is more efficient. But on the other side, you can have something that is with a more narrow wind range. I mean that you can't change a lot the angle of attack of the Parawing. Then for the what I can say, the aerodynamic point of view, it can be a weak point on that side. Then you can make a thicker profile, as thick as possible. Yeah. But when you make a very thick profile, you have a good low end. But finally, the benefits start to be a weak point also when you want to have a lot of acceleration in the wind window of the Parawing. Then you have also a limit. Then for me, the target was to find a balance between the stashing and the wind range, the upwind ability. And what is also important is to understand in the Parawing design, for me, you have two different ways to manage the power. It's like a kite for me. It works like a kite. It's exactly the same difference between a foil kite and an inflatable tube kite. Inflatable tube kites, you will work with the angle of attack a lot. With the foil kites, to manage the power, to manage the D-power, you work more on the wind window. You push the foil kite more on the edge of the wind window and less on the angle of attack. And when I designed the frigates, because I was very focused on the upwind ability, the wind range, I prefer, and because we have a short lines, when you look at a foil kite, shorter are the lines and more upwind ability you have. With the Parawing, we have very short lines. Then we know that we have the wind window, we can manage it. Then I focus to design the frigate, which is not the case of all the Parawing on the market. It's quite interesting because all designers have different point of view and depend of the program also. But I was so focused on the upwind ability, I prefer to design the frigate with this capacity to go on the edge of the wind window and to manage the power going on the edge wind window instead of working on the angle of attack like this. It's two different ways, and when you work like this, it's better to have a profile that is a compromise between a thick and a thin profile. Because if you have a thin profile and you work to go on the edge of the wind window, the thin profile already go on the edge. Then finally, you go always on the edge and you can't have more power. You have a lot of D-power, You have
Mm-hmm.
the Parawing that is sitting on the edge of the wind window, and like a kite, when you are on the edge, you have no
Mm-hmm.
power, but you can't
No power. Yeah.
you can't go back on the deeper on the wind window because of the thin profile. And in the opposite, a too thick profile can sit deeper of the wind window, and you can lose also the upwind ability. And it was to find a balance between. And because of the shape, I was very focused on the what I said on the first part of the leaning edge, the 41st%, with the
Yeah.
we will discuss, I think, later, with the diagonal ribs, with all the shape. When you look at the frigate, the shape, you have no bump behind the end of the mini ribs. It was designed to
Mm-hmm.
be very clean on that part, and I was very focused on that part because the philosophy behind was to have something that can can pull you even on the edge of the wind window. Like that, you will gain a lot of efficiency in upwind legs.
Yeah, I feel like they from the first Parawing we saw to the pairings we have today, I think that was where they all improved in that top end of the wind range, and
Mm.
they all now have what I don't know if this is the right term, but I talk about it and I think about drive, like how much do they drive to the edge of the window, and now we're starting to understand how to fly them a little bit better. So now the concept of sheeting out and sheeting in is starting to become apparent for people who ride, how important it is for you to manage the position in the wind window, because not everyone coming into parawinging has a kiting background. And when we talk about the wind window, it's very easy for us to understand, okay, this is where it has to be for us to go upwind. You know, if I want to get up, I want it right in the middle of the wind window so there's power, so there's less lift and more power. And those concepts now are becoming more and more apparent. And all the brands are tweaking little things as they go before launching a V2 or something like that. Is there anything that you guys have changed from the very first frigate that got into the market to frigates that we are seeing now? Like little tweaks that are not considered a V2, but they're little improvements to make the Parawing perform a little better?
In fact, this is two philosophy for me. And what is interesting is, for me, there is no one rule that will work. It will depend about the target you want to achieve on each Parawing. For sure, in the future, we will have a wider range of Parawing, because one will be more focused on the wind range and the upwind ability, because sometimes it's very close together, wind range and upwind ability. One will be more
Mm.
focused on the deep power, because now when you go from kite, from wing to Parawing, and especially when you go in a very strong wind, you feel that the power, the single skin, because it's mostly the single skin that is like this, you can't totally depower it. More wind you have, and more pressure you have on the what we call the A line, in fact the front line.
Mm.
And this is something that can be tuned, but sometimes this is a little bit the opposite. If you want to reduce the pressure of the front line, you will increase the depower, but you will lose a little bit of the upwind ability. Then the target is to know exactly for this product what is made for. Is it made
Mm-hmm.
to help people to have more depower? Then, for example, what I call about the management of the power of the Parawing, you can work on the change of the angle of attack. Or if you want to have something that is very more performance, you work more like a foil kite philosophy. And for that, you work more on the wind window. But for me, the wind window, the target of the frigate was to have already something that is performant, have a good wind range, have a good upwind ability. Then it was the key point for this product. We will introduce more powering for sure, because it's like all the sport. You have some people that are more focused on the downwind aspect. Some people are more focused on the upwind. For my personal riding style, in fact, the frigate was suiting everything I expected, and we try to put more downwind ability on the quite high performance products. But in the future, yeah, for sure, we'll have something that is more dedicated for deep power, full deep power. Could be single skin, could be other things, because we are at the real beginning of the sport. To be honest, 1 year ago, 1.5 years ago, the sport doesn't exist. We didn't know we'll
I
ride
know.
almost 90% of the time with a Parawing, even when it's flat water. And for me, this is also a key point of the frigate. With my DNA of the kite foiler, what I like is, if there is no shops, I want to have fun. And I want to make a very hard tack. I want to reverse it, to ride it with the trailing edge in front. I want to play with, I always play with kites like this, do down loop, kite loops. Put your hands on the water when you are making a tack. I like to do some things like that, and play with the product that is in the air. Because for me, the most important is, we talk about the product you use that is in the air. We have the hydrofoil that is in the water. We have the board that is at the limit between, and we have the motor, the engine that pull you and use the air. And I want to all the time to play with that, to have fun, even if it's flat water. Because for me, it will be a real sport only if we don't use it only for downwinding. We need to have fun on the water, even with the product. And this is also, because of that, we introduced the harness line directly on the product and put it on it. Because when you are focused on the downwind, you don't need to have the harness line. It doesn't matter, because you go only downwind. Then you don't have a lot of pressure on the A. But when you understand that with the harness line, for me, the harness line is exactly the chicken loop of the kite. You can ride an hook with a kite. You can, but you ride only a few minutes, 10 minutes, 1 hour when you are super strong. But that's it. But you lose a lot of potential of the kite if you don't use the chicken loop. And for me, the harness line, it acts exactly like the chicken loop. You transfer a lot of the power, and you just have to focus on the driving of the Parawing. And I know that Julian, I remember, who was very focused on the downwind aspect. We don't want harness line because it's not super simple. It's not in the philosophy. But Julian, try it. You will see. You will see, because with the harness line, you can go upwind faster. You can go upwind effortless. Then you will be focused on your downwind aspect, just adding a harness line. He tried it one time and say, okay, we are on the right way with that, because we want to focus on the downwind. And at the beginning, why the upwind ability is important for the downwinder is, when you do several times the same downwind, you want to go as fast as possible at the starting point. Then the upwind ability is important, even for a downwinder. And everything that can help you to go faster on the water, it's a good thing. And because you have that also, you start to enter in a new world finally, because you have a lot of control, effortless, like a kite. What I feel, it's when you compare wing, kite, Parawing, windsurf, the one that is, when you are riding on the water in terms of feeling, the one that are the closest is Parawing and kite, finally. And especially when you have a performant Parawing that can go upwind. For me, I feel like a kite with the short lines now. And it's super fun to ride. And I felt in love with kitefoiling. And at this step, in less than 8 knots, no sport can compete with the kite. It's like that. It's because you can ride a big kite, 11, 12 meters square. We can't have a Parawing that is 12 meters square, because it will not fly properly. You will have the tip that will touch. But the efficiency of the kite is very amazing. And the target is to have something that is close to that. I windsurfed, I wing, I kite, and one that have a specific feeling, it's kitesurfing. And if we can have this feeling and share it with something that is very more simple than the kite, because kite is long lines, bridle is more complicated, relaunching is more complicated, especially in light wind. If we can achieve this target with something that is more simple, it's perfect.
Amazing. I feel there's a lot of room for us to grow, and I'm going to speak a little bit slower because of the echo. When it comes to accessories for the Parawing,
Mm.
so stowing devices, bars, harness hooks. Is there anything that you've identified as, something that we need to improve in the accessories around Parawinging that you guys are developing?
Yeah, and especially with internet, we see a lot of things when you go to the Facebook group.
Mm.
My philosophy is always the same. Everything is not in my brain, is not in the brain of the team. Then we need to be super open minded about all the ideas, because what is interesting in our sports, we are not like Formula One. It's not the number of the engineer you have in the team that make that you will have a good product. Because finally, even in F1, we are a very wide team of designer. But when I talk about the designer, it's only designer of the air product. But in F1, we have also designer just for the bar. We have a designer that is dedicated just for the bar, the harness line. I'm not in charge of that, but we discuss a lot. And the idea is always to pass the limit you have at one moment. And the stowing, for example, I tried all the devices we see on internet. I tried all of them, to be honest, with the pulley, without the pulley, exactly the same for the bridle system. I tried pulley, without pulley, pulley in front, pulley on the back. All the time, I try to be as open-minded as possible. And finally, you have to find the right balance between what I will gain and what I will lose, because there is no perfect world. If there is something that is perfect, everybody will go on that part for sure, because it's perfect. Even if for me, nothing is perfect in the world, but something that is close to the perfection. And I tried it. At this step, what we felt, to be honest, if we talk about the harness line, the hook we use with only one single point, and because when you go in light wind and the strong wind, you move a little bit the location of the harness line. When you are in light wind, you prefer to have the harness line more backward, and when you are in a super top end of the wing, you prefer to have in front. Then the way that act the harness line with a one single point, because for me, one single point is very important, is a good way to go, to have a hook to connect on it. The answer I give you today is not the answer I will give you in maybe 2 months, 3 months. I don't know. It's changing so fast. But at this step, we felt that we need to improve things. For example, for me, if we can remove the harness line Velcro we have on the end when you ride it, it's not comfortable. Then we are working on the ideas to prevent this, to have it more comfortable. Exactly the same with the A line. Sometimes when you depower, the A line go with a shorter angle, a closer angle on the bar, then it's not comfortable with the hands. There is a lot of improvement to do for sure. But at this step, today, this is only the answer today, I didn't see any game changer, a real game changer that will improve 1% of my ride with the new feature I saw now and from what I tested. It's not perfect what we have now, for sure, but it's a good balance.
What about the stash belts?
We are working on that. We tested for a long time now, and for that we give also to the riders. We develop a different belt. We'll be introducing in winter, I think, if I remember well. And the target of the belt, you have different belts. The first is for sure because we are in the philosophy of the harness line, we need to have a hook on the way we design the belt, but the hook can be moved on the harness line, because when you climb on the boards, you don't need to, you don't want to have your board destroyed by the hook. Then we work to have something you can move. Also, it's in plastic. then you have less
Hmm.
chance to destroy the boards. And also the philosophy we had is we know that some people are right-handed and left-handed, then they are more prone to have one side that is suitable for them, and for the other people, this is the other side. Then we develop a belt that is not putting the pocket wing from the top, but putting the pocket wing from the side. And the target is because
Hmm.
when you depower and you stash it, the first thing you catch on the water is the front part, the leaning edge of the Parawing. Then you finally
Hmm.
you catch first the rods. Then because you catch the rods, the way we work is we have a pocket that is on the side. You put first the rods, and after that you put all the wings like that. And for the bar,
Nice.
we have an order to put. And for me, in my ride style, because I don't have the DNA of the downwinder, but I love to downwind
Hmm.
now with the Parawing. I never downwind with subfoil because I'm not well balanced when he's not flying. It's like that. My life is like this. I'm not balanced when I'm not flying on the water. And with these belts, we put an holder for the bar. And for me, it was the biggest benefits on my ride just to put the bar on the holder. Very simple. It's just a loop we created, and
Hmm.
just like I feel that I'm almost as free as a surfoiler because I'm a surfoiler. I'm not a downwinder. I'm not a subfoiler.
Yep.
I'm very used on the surfoil. It's for me this is the best sport we have. Is the more essential. The more we have just the board short, the board, and the foil. Even it's
Yeah.
a foil, but when you want to fly all the time, this is the simplest tool we have to use. And with just putting the bar on the belt, I feel that as I'm very more free compared to
Mm.
grabbing the bar and stashing the power wing in the belt. For me, the first
Interesting.
point is to leave the bar, to not to have the bar anymore in the end. This is the more efficient to be introduced on the downwind part of the ride. And because we are left-handed and right-handed, what we did, because we have one side to introduce the power wing in the belt, you can just reverse it, and you have one that it's exactly the same. It's dedicated for right-handed and left-handed. You just have to reverse the hook because when you
Hmm.
roll your harness, your belt, the hook is inverted. You just have to invert it,
Yep.
remove it from the ribbing, turn, and put it inside. And this one is very important. And for my R&D, all the time, it's not for the downwind, but I use all the time. I have one powering in the belt and one I'm riding with. And
Hmm.
when I want to switch, I just remove it, put on the water, put the first one in the belt, and I can test two powering in the same time.
I love it. I think it's definitely something that will evolve because I saw Jack Ho with an interesting device in
Mm.
Hood River, more
Yeah,
of a vest
yeah,
type
yeah.
thing that he was
Yeah, I have it.
stashing.
Mm.
That was cool. And I feel that those options will start popping up depending on what style of riding you're doing, how experienced you are. I feel that swinging the stash boat forward and back,
Mm.
don't know if we need to be doing that. I think once you become a little bit more used to packing it down and packing it down neatly, you can stow something in the back, and it's not that hard. But I love to see that you guys are developing something different, something
Mm.
that's based on your user needs, and not just getting something out there quick, which I feel is like the DNA of F1. You just want to make something that's really, really high performing. Yeah, I'm just happy to see you guys evolving and creating products that are not just what everybody has. You're really thinking about the user experience, how people
Mm.
can stash, how can we think of it from a ground level, from no
Yeah.
preconceived ideas, and make it work like that. I have a question about materials for the
Mm,
Parawing. We see, things like Alula in wings and Alula becoming the best, the highest performing material
mm.
for wings. Is there anything that we can expect in terms of better materials for the Parawings in the future, or is, ripstop where we're going to end up anyway?
For sure, if the market is here, this is what I see. The market is here. We can work with the manufacturer of the fabric for sure. We had a meeting 2 days ago. We discussed about that for sure. At this step, the Parawing history is very short. Then to be fast on the market, we need to play with the fabric that is already on the market. We can't develop new fabric. When you want to develop fabric, what is interesting, I worked. It was not for the Parawing, but I work with Porsche. Porsche is the supplier of the fabric we use on the frigate. I know them with my company for many years now because I was involved in the R&D process of the fabric for the kite. They wanted, it was 3 years ago, they wanted to introduce
Mm-hmm.
a new fabric, a new SPI fabric, the light fabric that you have on the kite and the wing. And I was working with them to be sure that the fabric is what all the designer and the brand are looking for. Then I was already involved on that, and it's super interesting to visit a factory that is producing this kind of fabric. They are the number one in the paragliding fabric. And at this step, today, we use what exists on the market. It's not perfect. For example, what we use is made in nylon, and we have a coating. Nylon, when you put on the water, it's elongate. Then you have a coating to prevent that, to make it hydrophobe and not to have this property.
Mm-hmm.
But this is nylon. Most of the Parawing you have on the market, especially the light Parawing. The frigate is not the lightest one for sure, but it's one of the. For me, it's a part of the light Parawing on the market. It's not the lightest for
Mm-hmm.
sure, and all this fabric we are using is from paragliding. Then this is not something that is dedicated for water sport. It's not because
Yeah.
when you develop a fabric that is dedicated for Parawing, it doesn't matter the sand, it doesn't matter the salt water. Then,
Mm.
but at this step, it was quite okay to use it. Then it works well. We can see now we have some Parawing that are on the market for 1 year. For sure, they are not behaving like a brand new one, but it's not that bad. It's quite okay. The behavior is not changing a lot, but it's changing like a wing. For example, when you ride a brand new wing and you ride a wing that is 1 year old, even if it's the same model, it doesn't act exactly the same. And for us, the target is to find now a fabric and develop also, because the DNA of F1 and is very, very interesting, especially compared to my own company that is very small. Then I can't knock at the door of the fabric supplier and, oh, we want something that is exactly like that. I can, because the quantity I will order is nothing for them. But with
Mm-hmm.
F1, we are at a step that we can discuss with the supplier of the fabric. Then for sure we will in F1 we are working on that, but it will not be in 6 months, because the fabric is something that is very it's a long-term process to develop a new fabric, because you need to know the edging, you need to know the tearing, the stitching, how it works after 6 months, 1 year, and it's a long process. When you want to develop a new fabric, my philosophy, it's even if you work with the best supplier for the fabric, it's at least 2 years. Then we
Yeah.
are now on a market, a good market. I think we have a market. We can discuss with the supplier of the fabric, but new fabric for sure we'll have it. But maybe I'm wrong, but I'm sure that it will take at least 2 years to develop a new fabric. using fabric that it exists, lighter or whatever, something that is more compacting for the stashing. We will use the fabric that is on the market, but we have two different ways to work. One is think outside the box and think about something that is very special to the Parawing design. And this is the future in 1 year, 2 years, maybe more. It depends, because sometimes you develop something that is finally didn't have the performance you expect. Then what is good with F1, and I like to work, I was very surprised on that, because it's not because I know Raphael for 30 years that I know how to work with him and with his company. It's totally different when you see people outside or inside the company. It's totally different. But what I feel is there is a deep knowledge in F1. They are never afraid to develop new fabric. Not only new design, but also new fabric. They introduce new fabric on the wings, and the DNA of the company. For me, I'm a brand new people in the company. I'm just here I'm work with them only for since a few months. Then it's very short time. But what I feel, there is no limit on that, and it's quite enthusiastic. And for people like me that always think when I'm sleeping, I think Parawing or whatever, all the things I want to improve, because it can be everything. It can be an hydrofoil, it can be a kite. And here, there is no limit. Then for sure, we'll see fabric that is dedicated for Parawing, just for the fact that we are using fabric that is dedicated for paragliding and is not parawinging, definitely.
It's so interesting to hear these things and how the company works and the ideology of the people behind the company. I love it. Let's talk about your riders a little bit. You have an incredible team of riders. Who is the rider who is impressing you the most on the Parawing?
There is a lot. Because in Parawing, it's exactly like the other sport. You have the freestylers, you have the downwinders, you have the surffoiler. All they arrive with their own DNA, their own muscle memories. And when I was at the AWCI in Hood River, I was very impressed by the freestyle rider, what they were doing with the Parawing, like Liam, like Lucas, like McDonald's. It was impressive. They train a lot in wing, and you know more than me. Compared to wing, wing is quite slow to behave like that when you use the boom, but with the Parawing, you just move a little bit like that, it changes everything. And these guys are able to do front loop, back loop, and they don't train all the day long. They train in wing. They just do it 1 hour in the day because they want to have some free time. And what they are able to achieve with that, for me, it's very impressive. And on the other side, I discuss a lot with Kiai. I met him in real at the AWSI also, but we already shared some emails previously because he was one of the first to try the frigate. And he have very good feedback. And when you look at him riding, same for Jack. Jack, I never met Jack because I'm brand new in the company. I really would like to meet this guy because he looks so awesome. When you look at his last video, he's riding the backwash of the wave with the barrier.
Yeah.
It's something for me where I ride. There is a lot of rocks. I have a lot of backwash, but never I think I could ride on the opposite way of the waves. He did it, and this is very interesting. And both of them, because I'm very aware about the freestyle. I like freestyle. I'm now too old to try freestyle now with the Parawing. For sure, I'm not able to do what they are doing. But I don't want to hurt myself because my job is to go on the water and to train the Parawing. my job is to trim the Parawing, not to push the limit of the Parawing in freestyle. Then I need to save myself on that. But when you look what they are doing, it's very, very amazing. All of them in different
Yeah.
aspects, because what is interesting to the Parawing is you have all the aspect of the other water sport. You have the freestyle, you have the downwind, you have also the racing. We'll see the racing when you look at Théo de Ramcourt at the Défi. It was a huge race in France with 400 riders, and with the Parawing, it was blasting all the wing, the top wing riders, and everybody was surprised about that. But for me, no. For me, yeah, it was clear from the beginning that the Parawing will be faster than a wing, especially the wing that is designed now. And what I say all the time, my reply of today is not the answer of the future. Things change. Alula changed a lot of things on the wing design, and you have the foil kite also at the real beginning. When you look at the kites, the first kite I bought, it was the F-One 80K. It was a foil kite that was, to be honest, it was complicated to ride at this period. We had two lines. I had a backpack with palm because every time I crash, I need to swim to go back on the beach. And finally, this is the same DNA, the foil kite that win the Olympic Games. Then things change a lot. And everything, we have a new sport or we have a new focus on the sport, will be a game changer in terms of design. And this is what is very exciting on that.
I feel like we need to touch on the Plume a little bit, because when the Plume came out, it got a lot of criticism from the market, and I think it was mainly confused as a Parawing because it was launched at the same time. But F1 came out with more communication and explaining that the Plume is not a Parawing. It's something else. So can you explain to us, like, what is the Plume designed for, and who can benefit from the Plume?
Yeah. And the first time I see the Plume, like most of the people, when you look at this and when you have the DNA of the kite, I always go back to the DNA of the kite. It looks like a Wipika Classic, the first inflatable kite in the world. Everybody is talking about that. Yeah, it looks, but it doesn't behave like this. I had the Wipika Classic. And what was good with the Wipika Classic at this period is when you buy a second-hand one, you can sell it more expensive than you buy it, because no one had it. No one had it. It was super rare to have it. And it looks something like that. But now I have the design file, because I work a little bit also on the Plume, and I can say, like a designer point of view, with a 30 years old experience on that, this is not a Wipika Classic, because I worked for Wipika. Then I know exactly the file of the Wipika also. Then it's totally different. What you have something that can look very close and feel definitely completely different. What is common between the Plume and the Parawing is the vertical bar. It behaves, you control exactly the same. You have the depower up and down, and you have the turning ability side to side. This works exactly the same. And for the other things, it's totally different. The first one is because you have the leaning edge, you have the best of the kites, because the leaning edge, it makes the front part very stiff, and you have a lot of depower. You can have, what I say previously, you have two different kind of manage the power with the Parawing, is changing the angle of attack or going more forward on the wind window. And the Plume have this special property. It has both, because the leaning edge is so thin, you can't compare it with a wing, for example. A wing, when you look at, I don't remember exactly the numbers, because a wing diameter, leaning edge diameter is around 24 centimeter. When a Plume, it's only half. It's It's not 24, it's 12 centimeter. And in terms of drag, it changed everything. It changed everything. And what is very interesting, I was like all the people I was fighting with the Parawing in last September, last October to trim it. The first time they gave me a Plume to ride, it was in end of February, if I remember well. And I was fighting at this period with the wind range of the Parawing. And when you try the Plume, you have a gust, it doesn't matter. You have a 5-meter Plume, even if the gust is 30 knots, doesn't matter. No harness, nothing. You don't have this effect that with the Parawing, more wind you have and more pressure you have on the front arm. With the Plume, it's stable, it's steady all the wind range long. You don't. This is why you don't need any harness line to control in upwind and in a very gusty wind. The other thing I feel with the Plume, and because I ride a lot with wing also, the timing you need to switch from the riding part to the downwind part, for me, it's quicker to pass from the riding part of the to the downwind, because you just have to grab the safety leash, and the Plume is just falling, and you have the handle that is directly in your hands. It's quite impressive that. And compared to a wing, you need to move forward your hands and grab the free fly, reverse the wing, and you start to not reverse, putting like that, but you and you start your downwind. The timing to go from the riding to the downwind is quicker on the Plume. And this is, when you are used with that, is super interesting to understand. When you have some quick downwind, for me, it's definitely quicker, easier to switch from riding parts to downwind parts. And the other benefits, and this is one of the key points for me of the Plume, is when you have the Plume just touching the water like this, it sits on the water. It's super stable. When you have a wing, for example, you just put the wing on the water. Sometimes you reverse, sometimes you need to roll it. The Plume never move like that. It's waiting you with the tip sitting on the water like this. Then it's super easy to climb on your board and to stand up, because it's waiting for you. And this is quite impressive. It's like you have some kites, beginner kites also are a little bit like this. You can put on the edge of the wind window and it sits on the edge of the wind window. You just have to grab the bar and you let go. And these three properties, the wind range, that is amazing. Even if we agree, this is not the low end that is the best benefits of the Plume. For sure, the low end is not as good as a frigate, for example. The low end of the Plume is of the 5-meter is almost the same than a frigate 4-meter, but the top end is even wider. It's quite impressive.
Yeah.
Then, when we talk about the wind range, we need to talk about the full range, and the feeling is equal in the light wind range of the Plume and the top end of the Plume. The feeling, the bar pressure is almost the same, and it's a very good feature. And for some people that are in very gusty wind or not very how can I say that, very don't have any kite experience or wing experience, this is one of the easiest tool you can put in the hand of a real beginner in water sports, definitely. But you need, at this step today, we need a little bit more wind. If you don't have at least 15 knots, between 15 and 20, for sure it's more complicated, because you can't generate a lot of power. It behaves a little bit different, especially in light wind. For example, with the Parawing, when you want to pump, you pump with the end very frontward like that, to pump it, to be efficient, not to shit it in too much. With the Plume, it's totally the opposite. It's like a fishing can. You need to take it like this, and you pump like this, and you have a lot of efficiency. It doesn't behave the same than a Parawing. It's you have different things like that, but when you are used with that, it's super interesting, and this is the only tool in the water sports we have now that have a wind range like that, and it's quite impressive.
Interesting. I was always curious to understand the benefits of the Plume, and it seems to me like the perfect entry level parawing for you to start on your parawinging journey and understand how it flies, how it behaves, and then maybe going to a single skin or something like that.
Yeah. Mm.
Now,
Definitely.
I, the we still lack a lot of information on what to do when you get your parawing. So you bought a frigate, you're all excited. What do you recommend people do for their first time unpacking and they're on the beach? What should they do to learn how to use the parawing properly?
The first thing is like new sports. It's not because you have deep knowledge in wing in kites then that you will know exactly how to go for a parawing. For sure, if you have the perfect condition, I see some people last time I was testing the 4.7 frigate, a prototype, and I gave it to the video cam rider that is used with wing. It was perfect condition, 18, approximately 18 knots. Good, wide, long board, big, quite big foil. He was able after 100 meter long to fly. And sometimes it works,
Nice.
but it works when you have the perfect condition. You have to think that when it's light wind, the Parawing is not where it works the most. It works when you have a minimum wind strength to go. If it's light wind, when you even if you know how to manage the pumping ability of the hydrofoil, you need to manage the pumping ability of the Parawing also. And every Parawing is not behaving exactly the same. You have some you can pump a lot. You have some that you can't pump. You need to go more downwind. Then when you are a beginner, you need to accept not to go in light wind first, and to be not. I see some people that are very unhappy. I had only 10 knots. I think it was good to go in 10 knots because it's safer. But no, you need a minimal wind strength to go. If you don't have this wind strength, you will fight. You don't have the knowledge to know how to handle perfectly the synchronization also between the pumping of the foil and the pumping of the Parawing. Then you need wind to learn first. And the other thing is, it's not because you know how to ride with a wing. It's not because you have your stuff for wing foiling. Especially in wing, we have shorter boards, wider boards, smaller foils. You need to accept to invest first on a bigger foil, to invest in a Midlands, or if you are in a very light wind, but you are very enthusiastic and you want to learn absolutely the Parawing, maybe go on a downwind board. Even if the balance is more difficult, it depends of where you live. If the wind is 50 knots, you need to accept to have specific tools dedicated for light wind. If you live in 20 knots, go in 20 knots with a 4 meter, 1300 centimeter square hydrofoil. Go big at the beginning. Go big. Take your board at least 20 to 40 liter more than your weight. And like this, the target is to spend more time flying than more time just glide on the water without flying. The target is to fly. What you need to improve is your flying ability, not your riding ability without flying. Then you need wind. You need longer boards compared to wing, for example, because in terms of boards and hydrofoil, what is the closest water sport is the wing foiling. Then it's longer. The mid-length is perfect. Me, I ride now. I do both wing and Parawing, Plume, and I have only one board. It's 80 liter 6.0. For me, it's perfect. But when it's super light wind, in less than 40 knots, I have a downwind board. For sure, is more efficient. I can't ride with a mid-length board when I can ride with exactly the same foil with a downwind board. Then you need to understand where I will learn. Then if this is a location that is flat water, you have good wind, 20 knots, you can go with almost everything. But if you have only 15 knots, it's for a beginner, for me, it's the limit, approximately 15 knots. Lower, it's very technical. Then a beginner can't be introduced on the sport in 10 knots. Even if we are introducing bigger and bigger size of Parawing, because the secret of the light wind is the size of the Parawing, like all the water sports. Then just be sure that you know that you will learn a new sport, even if you have some similarity with other sports. But the way the bar behaves is the only sport that is like that. You have the Plume and you have the Parawing that drive with only one hand. It's not a kite. It's not a wing. The wing is with two hands and then is on the other side. This you have to train and you have to learn. After that, you have some. If you can also try in winter time. For example, if you do some skateboard during the winter, it was very cold on the water, and I would just want to trim one bridle. Then I bring a wakeboard and a carving board, and I go with my Parawing like that. Then it works also, but put some protection, because if you crash. I don't want to be responsible of that, but you can use a skateboard. And what is interesting also with the water sports, with the Parawing, is it's not only a water sport. You can use also on the ground with a skate, with a snowboard, on flat. You can't climb a mountain. It's like a wing. The only tool that can climb a mountain is a kite, because you can turn. You have the wind window. You can play with that. But a wing and a Parawing, you can't climb a mountain. If you have 40 knots, yeah, you can. But you can use with a snowboard, with a ski on the ice. A Parawing is quite fun to use it. It's not only a water sport.
Can't wait to see that. Yeah, I would love to see some people try those things. I saw a guy on a frozen lake with skates on the Parawing going so fast.
Yeah.
And I imagine how cool would it be to have a circuit and do a circuit with the Parawing turning and then maybe going upwind with it. All sorts of ideas started to come. But where do you see the sport growing? You know, we had a first wave of people that came onto the sport and understood it pretty quickly because they saw the potential. What's the next wave of adoption now? Where is it coming from?
For me, this is mostly the wind range. Definitely. We need to increase the wind range to, even if it's today acceptable. If we should talk 8 months, not 8, but last October, I will say that for me, the Parawing is not a real sport because we don't have the wind range, and we need to increase the wind range. After that, the sport will decide itself. Finally, this is some people will be focused on freestyle because you have some good opportunities on freestyle. Some people will focus on the racing also because it can be so fast. For me, it could be one of the fastest water sports on the water with an hydrofoil, because the weak point of the Parawing, and this is something that is quite interesting when you look at the rising of the new sports. I mean the wing, and I mean the Parawing. It was only possible. Why it appeared only now? It's because of the hydrofoil, because we accept to use an hydrofoil. The kite was the only water sports with the windsurf that don't need any hydrofoil to succeed. But if you remove the hydrofoil on the wing and the Parawing, this sport doesn't exist on the water sports because you lose the upwind ability, you lose the efficiency. At this step, we can't ride without any hydrofoil. Then could be a way to go. How to give a good feeling on the water without an hydrofoil? I don't know. Let's see. We are the real beginning of the sport, or on the other side, it can be the racing with an hydrofoil, and for sure I'm sure we can compete very close to the kite foil performance. in terms of upwind, in terms of maximum speed, because the DNA is very close, and we have shorter line.
Yeah.
What the kite foiler want all the time in racing, they want to have shorter and shorter and shorter. But we have a limit, is the size, because we have very short line. The size of the Parawing is the limit in terms of design. When I designed the Frigate at the real beginning, we focus only on 3.5, 4 meter. And after that, we say, okay, try to make a bigger one. 4.5, yeah, it worked well. Okay, try to make a bigger one. 5.5, yeah, it works well. Then we introduce on the market. It's on production now. And after that, 5.5, we tried, okay, go to 6.5. It works. But I feel that today we are the limit of the shape, of the span of the wing. With the knowledge we have today, I don't feel we can use bigger comfortably with a good feeling, bigger than a 6.5 or something around this. But if we change the shape, I don't know, if we add some new feature on that or new profile, there is a lot of investigation to do. We discussed just a little bit the double skin or different way to design a Parawing. There is a lot of things. Double skin, I tried it. The first time I tried the double skin with the Parawing, it was in October. We took a double skin. It was not with F1, but we took a double skin kite that was dedicated to be used on the beach, but it works quite good. It was interesting. It was a close sail. There is a lot of room, but for me, the wind range is the first. The second one could be this behavior to have what we have now is the increasing of the strength of the A line when you go in a stronger wind. We need to resolve it. And after that, it will depend. If we go on freestyle point of view, maybe we need to adapt the shape to have a better turning ability for the loops or whatever. It depends. Or the stashing, if we can make something that is stashable, even smaller, removing some rods, or there is a lot of things to explore. But the rods at this step, I know we put a lot of rods on the Frigate because the focus is first performance. The stashing ability need to be acceptable. I think it is, because we don't have a very long line. It was, for example, it's the same. I was when we designed the 5.5 and the 6.5 with my kite foiler point of view. I think in light wind we need longer lines, and after test, finally it was the opposite. In light wind we need shorter line. Why? It's because we need to turn. And if you want to make a jibe, a down loop, because when you go in a light wind, you need to do a Heineken jibe or a down loop. Now 90% of my jibe, I do a down loop. Even with a 3 meter, I was so used, and this is the only way with the tack to turn. And we need to turn. And if you use longer line, you can't do a down loop because the wing will touch the water, and you can't restart. And when I do a down loop with a 6.5, my hand is up like this, and the Parawing is pendulum like that. And when I finish the turn, the apparent wind is higher, then I can just redeploy it. With longer line, I can't do that. But with the thinking of the kite foiler, it didn't work. Then we learn all the time in the design rules, longer line is more stable. It's always like that. Longer line you have, and easier is to design a Parawing or a kite. It's always like that. And but for the light wind, we need to have shorter line because we need to turn. Then
Interesting.
You need to take in account all the time, and this is what I tried. And with the F1, we are really focusing on that, to try the constraint of each size of each practice, because it's like a kite. You can't say to people that you can do the same trick at a Red Bull contest with a 14 meter square. No, you can't. It's impossible. Physically, it's impossible. It's not the same sport when you ride a 14 meter than 8 meter. With Parawing, it's exactly the same. It's not the same sport when you ride a 2 meter than when you ride a 6 meter. But what is interesting with Parawing, the distance in terms of behavior between a 2 meter and a 6 meter is one of the closest compared to all the water sports. With a wing, when you ride a big size, you have the span, the tip is touching all the time the water. When you pump, you have the tip that touch the water. It's less efficient. And when you ride the 3 meter, it doesn't matter. With a Parawing, finally, it have this ability to touch the water when it's well designed. It doesn't matter. You can compensate. You can, and finally, this is the sport that I feel we have less difference between riding a 6 meter and riding a 2 meter. It's not the same for sure. I don't say I ride the same with a 2 meter than a 6, but the difference in terms of riding style is one of the closest compared to the other water sports.
Interesting. I have one last question that I would love for you to give your perspective on. And there's a lot of people that I talk to that are still sitting on the sidelines waiting. You know, they see the potential, but they're not really committing to the Parawing yet. What can you tell these people that will help them just give the Parawing a shot? What does the Parawing do that you can't do in any other foiling discipline?
For me, the real new thing of the Parawing first is a simplicity. You have a small bag like this. You just put out the bag and you put in the air, and you are ready to go on the water, on the ground, on the snow, on the ice, whatever. It's super easy to do. It's very intuitive. I have my son that is 11 years old. He's quite old now, but the first time when he was 4 years old, I designed a wing. It was a 2 meter square just for himself, and he tried it, and it was fun because he felt the power even in 30 knots. He was playing with that, but with a Parawing, he's playing immediately, and you play with this 3 dimension because we focus on the downwind and we focus on the riding, but it's a real 3D tool in the air, and it's super fun to you can start it, you can turn, you can put on the top of your head, and you ride in 3D. And this simplicity you have with only one bar, and you can ride with only one hand. If you want to ride with one hand, you can all the day long. You can. It's not a trouble. You just need to change your hand when you change your tack. But it's very simple. It's something that even it can be a rescue tool for the kite foilers and the wing foilers, because if you have a trouble with your equipment, with your kite or your wing, this is something, if you learn how to use it, it can be a rescue tool also for this guy. I know some people that are racing a lot, and now they have a Parawing on their back in case of trouble. And for me, the thing is very easy to ride, very easy to control, because it's like a joystick of a computer when you want to play a game. This is the only water sport you control everything, the power and the drive, with only one hand. There is no sport like that, and it's super easy to use. For me, I will not focus on the downwind aspect, because the downwind aspect, you need to know how to pump first, how to glide on a wave. Then you will don't focus on that part of the Parawing. Even if for myself, I was not a downwinder because I was not so stable with the paddle, and I never do that. And to be honest, I didn't like that because it was complicated to start. But for sure, this is the easiest way to be introduced on the downwind, the Parawing with the wing. But for me, it's not more difficult with the Parawing than a wing. But the riding style is one of the fastest on the water, to be honest. Even with a single skin, when I ride a frigate, I like to ride fast because I have the DNA of the kite foiler, and I want all the time to be fast on the water. And on my spots, I'm not as fast as a kite foiler with a foil kite. For sure, they are a huge step forward, but I am faster than any wing or any average kiter. And this, you achieve that with only a simple tool that is only in 1 meter far away from you. And compared to wing, what is interesting, even if the line are very short, it's only 1.5 meter, but the visibility you will gain, it's a mix between kite, it's something in the middle, and the fact that you gain one more time this visibility in front of you when you want to just to see in front of you, just move a little bit up the Parawing, you see all the water around. This is something the first time you try the Parawing and you have the experience of the kite, you feel that the visibility you gain compared to a wing that is very in front of you, compared to a sail of a windsurf that is in front of you. You gain that, and you gain the view of the spot, and you can play on that. And what I like is when I look at the screen here, it's my philosophy with the Parawing is I want to go on each point of the screen. I want to play with that. And it's super easy to do now with the tool we have and it's very impressive how the progress were made by every brand. The upwind ability make that you can play on all the screen you have in your head, and it's super interesting to use that. And after that, the simplicity. It's now the longest time I spend to go on the water is to assemble the foil and to put my wetsuit.
Yeah.
Then if you can lose 10 minutes or 5 minutes before going on the ride and 5 minutes at the end of the ride, you gain 10 minutes of ride for the day. Sometimes when you have only 1 hour, 10 minutes, it's huge. Then you go on the ride of water as fast as possible. Fortunately, I have a car that I can I never unscrew the hydrofoil. I just bring the time I spend the most is to put the wetsuit in winter. In summer, it's like a surf. Finally, you are as quick as a surfer to go on the water. That's huge. More time on the water,
Nico,
and more feeling of this sport you will have, definitely.
Look, I agree with everything you said there. It's such a pleasure to meet you. And I can't wait to see what you guys do in the future. Can't wait to see more accessories coming out, more Parawings, more models. So let's keep in touch. And whenever you have more information and anything you want to share, reach out. And I would love to have you back whenever you're ready to share some more information with us.
Thank you. And thank you very much, Dan, for everything you did, because I always see your video, and we've been at the beginning of the sports, and you know that everything you did was very important for all the sport, for all the community, because it was well explained. You share your experience, which is very, very important, not to fake things, or it's every time is honest. And really would like to congrats for all the things you did.
Thank you. That's means a lot coming from you, and we all are doing this because we fell in love with the discipline. So it comes very naturally to talk a lot about it, I guess. Well, thank you, Nico, and I'll let you go on with your day. We'll catch up soon, mate.
Yeah, see you. Ciao, ciao. Thank you very much.